Full lights, start sound, camera, action.
BabuKishan's Spotlight.
Namaskaram. My name is Govinda, but I'm also known under the name of Benoit Villeneuve. I'm French-Canadian. I was born in Quebec City in 1955, so 10 years after the Second World War. My father actually was part of the army, but my mother was from a family of artists, pianists, tailors, hat makers. So I got this gist for the fine arts from my mom. I went to school in Quebec City and in my late teens found a passion and love for dance. I started studying ballet jazz and was part of a school show. And then I was requested to audition for, at that time, the biggest ballet company in Canada, which is Les Grands Ballets Canadiens, with their mother house in Montreal. So I auditioned for Les Grands Ballets Canadiens and got a full scholarship to study classical ballet. So I used to go to high school, and in the evening and on the weekends I was going to ballet classes. The director of that time of Les Grands Ballets Canadiens, Mrs. Ludmila Shiriev, came to visit our school in Quebec City. And she said, Benoit, she said, you have talent and so on, why don't you come for the summer school in Montreal? So during the summer I went to Montreal to take summer intensive classes in ballet. And of course, once in Montreal, Mrs. Shiriev asked me, she said, now that you're in Montreal, why don't you stay? At the same time, I was accepted in an art school in painting and drawing because that was my first love. Just dance came to me accidentally. And I started to study ballet on a professional level and was part of the production of the company Les Grands Ballets Canadiens. At the same time, I became vegetarian. And I found a love. It was the mid-70s. I developed a love and curiosity towards the Eastern philosophies and studied Bhagavad Gita. I used to go to the Hare Krishna temple on Sunday because they used to give a big free feast, vegetarian feast. So that was the main part of my first attraction. Little did I know that I would also get engrossed in the philosophy. Left everything, left dance, left everything, and went with a few hippie friends of mine, and we traveled all the way to Mexico in a car. And after 5 months of living in Mexico with hardly any little money, sometimes sleeping on the beaches and so on, I brought a few books with me of Eastern philosophy, and I joined the Hare Krishna Mandir in Mexico City on January 1st, 1975. So after joining the temple in 75, my first visit to India was in 1976, and the first place I landed in India was Calcutta. What a shock, coming from a Western country to land in Calcutta and walking in the street of Calcutta. At that time, my philosophical inclination were not leading me towards arts. But when I came back to Montreal, I saw first Bharatanatyam performance by two young students on the day of Shri Krishna Janamastami at the Hare Krishna Mandir in Montreal. I fell in love. I was pujari, I was taking care of the deities, I was doing all the archana, the ritual in the temple. And I came to the teacher and I said, oh my God, this is so beautiful, I want to learn this. The teacher, Mamata Yogi Nakra, who was from Bengal as well, was a little scared because I had a large dance background behind me. And she took me under her wings. And within 2 years, I completed my Rangetram, my graduation in Indian classical dance, which usually takes about 10 years. So what a lot of dancers accomplish over 10 years of training, I did in 2, because of my previous formation in classical ballet, as well as my knowledge of mythology and philosophy and my own inclination towards devotion, towards the Hindu pantheon, various gods and goddesses. So it led to me, I didn't intend to perform it professionally, but one thing led to another, and I started to perform professionally, get a lot of requests to perform, and we invited a group of musicians from India. I did tours of Canada with a live orchestra and went to perform in Delhi and other places in India, and this is where I got feedback from the critics and reviews from some of the harshest critics and writers of the time, praising the quality of my dance, and especially my inner bhakti, my devotion towards it all. So it was not only a superficial level that I was learning dance, but as also at an internal involvement with the dance form. Continued to perform for many years. My last performance I gave when I was 50 years old. And for the past few years, I've been concentrating mainly on the teaching aspect of Bharatanatyam. I run a school in Vancouver, Canada. We have about 60 students, and about 30 of them have graduated according to the fashion of the dance style, where you do a 2-hour solo recital. And a lot of my dancers actually now have open school, are teaching, and a lot of them are performing professionally. I also presented a festival for 5 years, Gate to the Spirit, where I got the occasion to present some of the top names in the field of Indian classical dance that included Priyadashini Govinda, Sujata Mohapatra, Akash Odedra, to name just a few. My involvement in dance is with the larger dance community as well. It is very important for me not to work in a ghetto-like, but to be part of the larger dance conversation in Canada and around the world. We hold our dance classes at the Dance Center, which is also the home of Ballet DC, our local ballet company. And I've choreographed quite a few numbers in the Bharatanatyam for my students, but I've also done a lot of collaboration with local dancers and choreographers and musicians, fusing different elements of dance and music. Dance has been a journey. It's still continuing towards other venues, especially in the field of my teaching and choreographing and performing and lecturing, giving lectures in university, dance program, theater program. Dance has been a way of life for me. I've been very lucky to be able to do a living solely with dance, which is a luxury for most dancers who very often have to find a second or third job to be able to make a living. Now many people will say, why Bharatanatyam? There's actually 8 classical dance styles in India, including Odissi, Kathak, Kathakali, Manipuri. Bharatanatyam was very much resembles many part technically the ballet form. We dance in the demi-plie, which is the Ardha Mandali, the half sitting of Bharatanatyam position. The arms of ballet are like this, in Bharatanatyam it's like this. So the stature, the posture of the dancer is very much the same. But what also attracted me to Bharatanatyam was its devotion. Most of what we do, although we work with intricate rhythm, intricate melodies, the basic, this dance form was performed in the temple as a form of worship. So there's a devotional aspect that is very, very important and primordial in Bharatanatyam. And this is what attracted me the most. The fact that you could explore, that you could praise the divine with the dance form was something very unique that I've not seen in other dance form. The thing being that you can do that with other dance form, but Bharatanatyam has been created and formulated to express the sentiment of devotion. And we depict scenes and events from the Mahabharata, from the Ramayana, and way beyond various aspects and stories of mythology. So this was my great attraction to the dance form. So there was a big renewal in Bharatanatyam, although it was performed mainly in the temple by the Devadasis as a form of worship, and almost faced extinction through the many Muslim invasion and through the British invasion as well, where many of the temples actually were destroyed. There was a revival that was brought forth some 100 years ago by E. Krishna Iyer, who was a lawyer, and who dressed in full garb as a woman to bring it on the stage. And my own guru, Sri S. Krishna Rao and Chandra Bhagadevi, were disciples of Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai, who's considered one of the very first, the Adi teacher, at the beginning of the line, who taught so many other students and teacher afterwards. Now it has gone from leaps to leaps, starting to renewal in India. Bharatanatyam is taught and performed in all major cities of the world by different people of different race, genre, nationality, religion. It has become a universal dance form. And it continues to evolve. People say, oh, you're doing an archaic dance form. It is not archaic, it's still very contemporary. I'm a contemporary person. I teach contemporary people. I do new creation, new musical piece, new choreography. So it's not something that's stagnant, it's something that is very alive. We have a series of footwork, a technique that we use with various rhythm, but doesn't stop the creativity. We have a series of hand gestures that gives us a vocabulary that we can express whatever we want. With pataka, for example, we can say come, we can say no, we can show the clouds, we can show a path. So that's only one hand gestures, there's about 70 hand gestures. And all of them, depending how you use them, take a different meaning. For example, if I do this, it's a swan, but using that same hand gesture like this means now, or time, or if I use it like this, it shows a beautiful form from head to toe. So the vocabulary is such that it allows one to create. The creation is unlimited. So this is not something that we repeat whatever. Yes, we build on the past, but we create always new. It's always fresh, it is new. It is not something that is an old tradition that is not evolved. So when asked about my personal life or my more intimate life, it's been really music and dance and the fine arts. I've lived 5 years monastic life in the temple, so that was tapasya brahmacharyena, that you live as a brahmachari, so there's no question of involvement in love affair. And when I came out of the temple, my involvement right away was totally into dance. I was very lucky that I had lots of very good friends, intimate friends and supporters who cherished what I was doing and supported me by giving me sometimes a couch to sleep on where there had no place to go live, or by feeding me, or giving me moral support in harsh time and difficult period of my life. So those friendships for me are a great treasure, and they have made who I am today. But I have no children. My children are my students. As I said earlier, I have about 60 students. Some of them I started teaching from the age of 6 years old, and they are still with me. They are married and they are now given birth to their own children. So I see their evolution. I have people who come to my studio every day. So it's not a lonely life. As a matter of fact, I'm longing for those moments where I can find myself alone, either on a bike ride or walking along the beach. And I'm looking towards going back to where it all started, to going back to a more monastic life. Within 5 years, I don't know if I want to do all this teaching anymore. I've brought up so many good students now, they can certainly take over. And I want to prepare myself for the ultimate exist, which is the living of this body, this human body, and accessing another life, if such another life exists. So spirituality for many is brought up by religion. I do make a difference between religion and spirituality because in my case, I've always believed in something other than what is seen with the eyes. I was brought up in a very staunch Catholic family, and Catholic in Quebec are really Catholic. My father was extremely strict, and we used to have to go to church and follow all the various rituals of the Catholic religion. And then obviously I went into a form of Hinduism, which is Vaishnavism, devotees of Vishnu or Krishna. But this has evolved because for me today, I do not like what's happening. I do not like the war of religion. I think that religion is very conducive, but religion should lead you to accept other form of religion and other form of accessing the divine or the supreme. I would say to them probably more of a Buddhist that I'm a Hindu, but if you're looking at true Hinduism, Hinduism goes beyond name, goes beyond form. It says that God has every name, God has no name. God has every form, God has no form. God exists, God does not exist. If you read the Shiva Purana and the so many literature of Hindu philosophies, you will see that everything is denied. Everything is yes, everything is no. So it's a big play, it's a big game. Very few people came back to tell us what the afterlife looks like. We can only believe the great sages or the great speaker who tells us that we're just a passage, that will go beyond something different. Who knows? What's important, I think, is to live in the moment. And it is again a Buddhist teaching, but it's also very much a Hindu teaching. Shiva is everything. Shiva is the creation. Shiva is the sun. Shiva is the moon. Devi is the garland of what we live, the forest, the animals, the rain. So it's everywhere. Some students come to me with some form of spirituality, some don't. But they will have to flirt with it if they want to absorb the real nuances of Indian classical dance, that is Bharatanatyam. So aside from teaching at my own dance academy, I have also an organization that is called Mandala Arts and Culture, in which I present, choreograph, so on and so forth, and I do mentors a lot of students to take on the dance professionally. One of my students, Sujit Vaidya, performed during the season in Chennai for the past 4 years. I have another student who's now in Bangalore, Aishwarya Chaitanya, who danced with the troupe there. I have another student in Montreal who runs her own school. I have students in the United States who runs their own classes. And many of my students are performing across Canada as well. So this dance is very much alive, and it's taken up by the new generation of dancers and dance artists. Actually, right now, what I'm looking forward to is to create a platform for the next generation of Indian classical dance artists. I will be attending a conference with my friend Srimati Latapada, who is based in Toronto, where there will be such legendary dancers as Malavika Salukai, Vijay Prakash from LA. And the focus of this 3-day symposium is to create a platform for the new generation of dance artists. I do give them a platform here by presenting them. I did that during the festival. I'm presenting 3-4 students in the new year with new productions. And we are trying to create link across Canada so that such presentation can be viewed by all Canadians across the country. This is my next step. There might be a book, there might be a film. There's a very big lack of audiovisual on Indian classical dance. When I lecture in universities, they ask me, is there any film, anything we can see? It is very, very rare to see. And if it is there, it is done very much for those who already know about the art form. I would like to present it with my knowledge, but maybe with a personal Western view of what the dance form is and demystifying it, because it's not that complicated. It sounds very, very, because there's so many nuances, there's so much of poetry, of music, of mythology involved that it might sound that it's something inaccessible, but it is not. It is an art form that can be very easily accessed. Now, the body of my students at the Academy are mainly South Asian, but they were all born in Canada. So I feel very, very often that they are more Canadian than I am. And through the dance, I have to teach them about their own culture, which is a reason why so many parents want their sons or daughter, I say their son because I have had a few male dancers over the years as well. They want them to dance to learn about their old culture, their old heritage from their motherland, India. But little did they know that their son or daughter will get hooked, because I want to give them an appreciation of the dance form and how it is so actual, and it's part of the larger arts and dance community in Canada and around the world. It is not only something ancient that people used to do 200 years ago, and now we repeat. It is in the now. There's a place for it. Bharatanatyam is known as yoga now. There's a yoga class on every corner of the streets in Vancouver. So Bharatanatyam is also well known. I believe that there's at least 15 schools of Bharatanatyam in Vancouver alone, and some 100 schools across Canada, not to speak of the United States, Italy, France, Africa, Russia, Japan, you name it, there's a Bharatanatyam.
Full lights, start sound, camera, action.
India. Well, there's more dust, more sun, more mosquitoes, more cars.
Anything positive?
Oh, the mangoes. Oh, you won't believe the mangoes.
blue hell is wrong with you? Are you still serious with this job? The company cannot afford to lose money. You were the best matchmaker in the city. Damn it!
I am the best.
You know I believe it. I'm Cupid reincarnated.